Hi, this is the last lesson for Benchmark 1. We're now in Benchmark 1, Lesson 3, Inside a Cell. This is probably one of the most important lessons of the entire project because it's during this lesson that you're going to get an overview of all the organelles. So not just the one that you were assigned, but all of them because they all really do work together. So what you can see now on my screen is the Lesson 3 lesson plan and checklist. Just going to show you an overview of the lesson before we get into details about the different parts. And I will be posting the link to this video here in the workshop, as well as some pages from the book that you can use for help on the notes and on the graded assignment. Now, there are a couple online interactives that are really great for looking at the insides of cells, and inside a virtual cell helps as well. Okay, so if you're working from home, make sure you do the warm-up. List 3 things that are found inside of a cell, and let's head on over to the slides. Okay, so this is the workshop portion of the lesson 3 on the different kinds of cells. And I want to start by telling you that there are 3 different cell types. Now, if you're in my classroom, I've had this poster on the wall all year of 3 different cell types. But animal and plant cells are the most complex, and they're kind of grouped together and sometimes called eukaryotic cells. And eukaryotic means true cells because they have membrane-bound organelles. And we watched this in our video, The Amoeba Sisters, and I will be posting a link to that video as well. Animal and plant cells have a nucleus, and that's what makes them eukaryotic cells. Their DNA is inside of the nucleus, and they have other complex organelles to help them function. We do consider bacteria its own kind of cell. They do have some internal cell structures. They are certainly a unit of life. One bacteria cell is considered to be alive, and bacteria cells come in a whole variety of different shapes, but they do not have a nucleus. So they are sometimes called prokaryotic cells. And the prefix pro means first. They were some of the first life forms, we believe, on Earth. So from here on out, we're really just going to focus on animal and plant cells. And you may recall that for our final project, the cell tour, we are turning our classroom into a plant cell. But for Benchmark 1, you do need to understand the organelles in both animal and plant cells, and most importantly, the differences between the two. So speaking of differences, this is a fun website to check out. If you go to diffin.com, you can actually type in plant cell versus animal cell, and it gives you an entire side-by-side list of how they compare in terms of what organelles they have. You could also type in prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. So this is something you'd like to do for assignments from here on out. It does do a very good job comparing 2 different kinds of cells. Okay, so you can find millions and millions of cell diagrams online. This is just one. And the one in your book, I think, is very nice. It's drawn 3-dimensionally. And certainly you can go on some of the other websites linked in today's agenda. But this is pretty simple. This is an animal cell right next to a plant cell. And you're going to be taking notes today on which organelles are found in which types of cells, animal, plant, and bacteria. And then you're going to be researching to find out what the function is of each of these parts. So the purpose of this workshop is certainly not for me to go through every single function of every single organelle. That would take a really long time. I'm going to direct you to some resources so that you can find that out for yourself. And you might be thinking, well, I only have to cover one organelle for our cell tour. But really, since the organelles work so closely with one another, it really does benefit you to know what they're all doing. And for our cell tour, we are going to be talking about how all of these parts work together to make a product, just like a factory makes a product. And one of the main products that are created inside cells are proteins. So as you research today on the function of the organelles, you may want to try and find out more specifically, what role does this organelle play in making a protein? So you may want to come back to this slide for some help. Okay, I'm gonna get out of the slides for just a minute. I'll come back to this. This is actually our word bank for our cell part labeling and coloring sheet. Some little cell cartoons for you. And these are just some more cartoons for you to look at just for a quick laugh. Okay, so here you will find a link to our electronic notes. And you can do this online. You can certainly ask for a paper version if you're in class, or you can print it out at home. So we're going to go through all the organelles, and through research, either online with the diffin.com, looking in the book pages that I post, you need to decide if this organelle is found in an animal, plant, or bacteria. And some of them you'll highlight all three. Some of them have all three, and some just one, or some two. And you're going to highlight in yellow if that structure is found in that particular type of cell. And in this column, you're going to type the organelle's job. And like I said, if you can find out how it's involved in the process of making a protein, even better. So for you to get a coloring sheet, which is the graded activity, you do have to present this completed. So you have to have your notes finished before you get a chance to do the coloring sheet. Okay, the individual cell coloring is on paper. You'll be coloring, labeling, and like I said, this word bank will help you with the different labels. So there's a plant cell on one side of the coloring sheet and an animal cell on the other. There is an exit journal. Okay, the exit journal should be done when you're done with both the notes and the coloring sheet. And since this is the end of a benchmark, you'll need to update your team management log and study for the quiz. So this date is not correct. If you're watching this video in 2021, we did push that back to Thursday, March 4th because of the snow day. It is a really tough quiz. There's a lot of information from the history of the cell theory, and all of the parts. There is some labeling on the quiz. So if you do finish lesson 3, I suggest getting a copy of the study guide. Go over your microscope parts. Take some time to study. It is a very tough quiz. So if you have any questions, make sure that you email me. Use all of the resources that will be linked in here for you. And we'll take a couple days for lesson 3.